If you want to enjoy and make the most of this session, setting up and adjusting your snowboard bindings is essential. You always want to feel in control on your snowboards, and for that, you'll need a good adjustment of your bindings. My name is Johan. I'm product manager at Wedze, and I've been working at Decathlon for 14 years now. Together, we'll see how to adjust your bindings. It's not complicated at all if you follow the 5 steps. To adjust your bindings, it takes about 20 minutes. It's easy to do, and you can do it by yourself with only one tool, a screwdriver. Before setting anything, it's important to know your front foot. It's pretty easy to know your front foot. If you skateboard or a scooter before, the foot that stays on the scooter on the board is your front foot. You need to know that because then you will define which is the front binding, which is the rear binding. So for me, my right foot is my front foot. And I put my binding with the ratchet on the outside, which means that this binding with me my front binding for the right foot, and this binding with me my rear binding with the left foot. Ratchet outside. Next step is choosing your stance. The stance is how wide you will put your feet on the board. So you have to play with the inside of the boards. Most of the brands give you a great indication that's called recommended stance, on which you can set up your bindings. If the brand doesn't give you the marking of the recommended stance, an easy tip is to take the measurements between your kneecap and your heel. This will give you a correct stance for your board. After the stance, you need to define the angles you want to ride with. Angles are very personal, depending on how you want to ride, what you're feeling on the snow, so that's something you can play with throughout the time. At first, when you don't know, you have 2 easy settings that you can practice. Is +15, -15 for all freestyle or even cruising around, but that's an easy setting if you like to be symmetrical. Or if you're more free ride or on-piste carving, you can go for -6 on the rear foot and +18 on the front foot. Again, it's very personal, you need to try things. Myself, I like very symmetrical, I go for -15, +15. How do you set up the angle? It's easy, it's written on the binding. On the binding, the disc has the different setting, and you can set up the angles from 0 to the angle you want, and it's graduated every 3 degrees. So it's easy for me because the 15 degrees it's written on the disc, so I choose 15 degrees. If you want 12, you remove 1 graduation, -3, it goes to 12 degrees. So I'll keep 15 for me, and I will pre-mount the binding on the board for the next step. Once I pre-mounted my binding, I'll be able to go get my boots, put it in the binding, and have a quick check to see if it's centered on the board. To easily do that, you just go on the front or the back of the board, and you can check if the front of the boots and the back of the boots is symmetrical with respect to the board. If it's not symmetrical, you can then work on the disc and push your binding forwards or backwards to make sure the front of the boots and the back of the boots are symmetrical with respect to the board. Once you're happy with the symmetry of your boots on the boards, you can fully attach your binding to your board and putting the rest of the screws. It's important to tighten your screws diagonally, so the binding is tightened symmetrically on the inside and the outside. No need to actually put a lot of strength in the screwdriver, just what it needs, but not too low as well. It's always good to practice with a small screwdriver with you when you ride the first sessions, so you can adapt the setting of the binding while on the snow. Once this is done, on this binding, I will put back the pad, which is also the gas pedal of the binding. You have 3 settings for this one, depending on the size of your boots. Again, you can either do it because you know that you have a large boot, a small boot, or medium boots, or you can do it by just putting the boots on the binding. And as you can see here, if I choose the smaller setting, when I put my boots, I have a lot of the boots that getting outside of the binding, so I will want to choose the larger setting of the 3 settings. So I choose the larger setting, I put back the screw in it, and when I put back the boots in the binding, I can see that it's fully matching with the sole of the boot. Now that you've attached your binding to the board, you can now set up the straps adjusted to your boots. To do that, it's pretty easy. On this binding, you have a no tool system, so you don't especially need a screwdriver. Some of the bindings you don't have no tools, so having a screwdriver with you is always good. So I set up the straps here. What you can see here is setting up the front strap at the very end of the tightening. It still moves and it's not well centered, so there's a setting here to actually adjust. As I said, this binding is no tool, so you have a small cap here that you can lift and use as a lever to actually screw and unscrew. If it's too tight or anything, you still have a screw head here, you can use a screwdriver. The no tool is pretty useful when you're on the slope, you don't have any screwdriver with you. So I unscrew everything. I just adjust which hole I choose to actually put the setup of the strap. And I do some trial and errors to find out how can I actually set up my strap so it's centered on the tip of the boots and it's well tightened in the binding. You know that your binding is well adjusted to your boots when you have extra length at the end to tighten more your boots while you're on the slope. That will add extra support. That's the front strap is done. You do the same thing with the rear strap. Here you can see it's not really well centered either, so same operation here. I will just add a little bit of length. So unscrewing the no tool, adding 1 hole of length, bring it back, closing the cap and checking strap is centered on the boots. It's perfectly set up. Make sure, even if you have no tools, to check before every session or every once or twice that it's well tightened, because it can sometimes unscrew itself and you can lose it, and a session without a rear strap is not a happy session. In the case your boots still doesn't match the lowest setting of your bindings and it's still too small, on this specific binding you have tips where you can actually switch the front strap from a forward position to a backward position. That will give you an extra smaller setting for smaller boots. It's specific for this binding. Check your own binding for any little specific setting that you can find that will help you make sure the boots is well adjusted to the binding. Once you've finished setting your bindings, on some of the bindings you have extra settings. On this one, for example, you have the lean forward. This will allow you to move your spoiler back and forth at an angle, which will change your position on the snowboard. It's mostly comfort setting depending on how much you want control on your board or comfort while riding. So now we are done setting up our bindings. As you saw, it's really simple and quick to have the right setup, but it's important to take some time to do it for the safety of your riding as well as your comfort on the slope. If you have any interrogation, any questions, or anything that you don't know how to set up on your binding, you still can go to a snowboard workshop and see a professional who will help you. Again, the right setup will allow you safety, and when you're ready, you can enjoy your session.